Hi, everyone. My name is Federico, and I'm the co-founder of Evmos. And today I'm going to talk about the future of blockchain interoperability and how you can scale applications with Evmos. First of all, for the ones that don't know what is Evmos, Evmos is a fully interoperable fast finality EVM chain on Cosmos that aims to create long-term incentive alignment between developers, validators, and users. It's a fully IVC-enabled EVM. So with the news of DYDX migrating into Cosmos, was a big surprise for everyone in the Ethereum ecosystem because it showed us a way for how applications could scale first on Ethereum and then migrate once they reach maturity into their own application-specific blockchain on Evmos, on Cosmos. But until then, the way of how applications usually scale was by adopting sort of like a multi-chain strategy. So because of the EVM composability, the money Legos that allow all these decentralized applications to deploy on every single EVM compatible chain allow them to quickly go deploy, test, and in different chains like Polygon, Ethereum, of course, and other L1 ecosystems. They were looking for metrics to decide on which deployment, like traction in terms of users, transactions per second, volume, etc., and then like liquidity and also TVL, and of course the community. The community needs to be strong for them to decide whether or not to deploy. But the main limitation of this approach is that they need to track and manage every single ecosystem that they're deploying to, because now they need to actively manage every single smart contracts, every single deployment, maybe have like a different UI for every different chain if it's not properly integrated. So it's an operational burden for them to deploy into every single ecosystem. But our approach to interchain scaling is not a multi-chain approach, but one where you can deploy once and then connect to the entire blockchain and interchain ecosystem. We call this the interchain decentralized application strategy. And we developed this because like the multi-chain strategy is not going to be able to scale. So ideally, you should be able to deploy once on Evmos, like here in the picture you can see Aave, and then connect to all the different chains in the interchain and the EVM ecosystem. Now, these decentralized applications will be able to natively interoperate via IVC on Cosmos ecosystem and also EVM-based bridges. This is what we call interchain composability. The ability for these decentralized application and smart contract to scale from the EVM and reach new functionality with the help of the native interoperability that Cosmos provides. But now going back to the DYDX case, we've seen throughout the years that many decentralized applications have failed to be deployed on Cosmos. And a lot of them have tried this in the past, like Aragon Chain or Compound Chain in the Block ecosystem. But a lot of them fail. Why is that the case? Because of the high complexity of the Cosmos SDK, Tendermint core, you need to bootstrap the community from scratch and also the validator set. And of course, you need all these integrations, all the core infrastructure, and the essential integrations like wallets, indexers, Oracle providers, etc., to get the chain started. There are no money Legos on this new chain that you're building from scratch. So you don't have all the toolings that you need for you to build these new use cases. So Evmos is introducing Evmos Share Security as a mechanism for all these decentralized applications to take the same approach as DYDX, but now they can build and deploy on Evmos, get enough traction, and then exit into their own EVM application-specific blockchain, deriving security directly from Evmos through IVC. And then we're going to be repeating this same strategy with the most popular applications on Evmos. And I'm going to talk about each of these steps and why you should consider this strategy for scaling your applications. First of all, Evmos is an EVM on Cosmos that not only offers the programmability and composability that the EVM provides, but also the sovereignty and interoperability. So this allows, as I mentioned before, all these applications that are no longer constrained to the EVM. And an application that uses our core technology, our EVM, is also going to be able to have all this customizability plus the sovereignty of the Cosmos SDK and the smart contract compatibility from the EVM. So the first step, build and deploy on Evmos. Why should you build and deploy on Evmos if there are like many EVM compatible chains right now? So we try to divide, and here we outline like the main value proposition of why Evmos is different. It's a fully IBC-enabled EVM, has a really low cost for users in terms of transaction fees. You can also explore and discover new use cases because of the interoperability and also the modularity of the Cosmos SDK. Projects can now earn revenues directly from transaction fees. And you can also expand your user base into the rest of the Cosmos ecosystem, even non-EVM compatible chains. And we also provide a seamless user experience that combines these two ecosystems into a single one. So the Evmos EVM, it's powered by Ethermint, which is our EVM library that offers full EVM equivalence and is also IBC compatible. This means that not only you can do transfers, now we have ERC20s that are fully IBC compatible, but in the future you will be also able to do IBC queries. For example, all the Oracle services providers that are deployed on Evmos will be able to be queried via IBC from other chains. Same for contract calls. You can build new use cases by packing an AVI contract call directly into an IBC packet and then route them so that you can call a specific smart contract on Evmos. Interchain accounts so that you can manage all your accounts in the interchain using one single account on Evmos. Maybe using Gnosis Safe or other multisig, providing additional security for your ERC20s and interchain assets. And also share security, the mechanism for scale that we're introducing now. The Ethermint EVM module will allow soon for custom precompiled contracts so that you can have, for example, IVC directly embedded as a precompile. You can also add new custom functionality, like for example, slashing approval, so you can have collateral-free lending protocols. So for example, you can here request an approval from the staking module to slash your stake if you request a loan that is uncollateralized. So once you're liquidated, you slash the tokens that are already provided to the security of the network. Then Tendermint AVCI++, so that we can add new functionality directly into the boot extension of the application blockchain interface that Tendermint Core provides. And of course, native liquid staking, which is a new mechanism that we're able to use natively on the EVM to provide additional liquidity for all the applications without any restrictions to the core security properties of Evmos. Then you can also, by deploying on Evmos first, you can allow new use cases like this one with Sommelier. So Sommelier has these Aave sellers that they are now going to be deploying as a mechanism for you to manage the liquidity on the Aave protocol on Ethereum. But once Aave v3 is deployed on Evmos, you will be able to use IVC directly in a mechanism that is going to be cheaper for the users and is going to be faster because you're using IVC. This allows smart contracts that are deployed on Evmos, provide them new functionality with application-specific chains that are on Cosmos. So you can replicate the same functionality that we're seeing now with Sommelier. You can do the same with Osmosis, with Region, with Atom, and other core blockchains in the Cosmos ecosystem. Another core functionality that we're working on is interchain accounts, so that you can manage all your accounts in the same, using a single account on Evmos. So you can manage all your, for example, your interchain assets using a Gnosis Safe. You can stake, you can use your ERC20s, and also, of course, send Ethereum transactions and Cosmos transaction and IVC transactions across the board. This is going to be a massive UX improvement because now the users won't need to change the network when they go to a wallet. They will just need to have one single account that is going to be managing all all the portfolio. Now, based on the topology of the network, the user only will care about the portfolio, and according to the recipient address and the tokens that are being sent, you will be able to calculate which is the cheapest route to their destination or which is the fastest route to transfer those tokens. These are what we call smart wallets. And the other functionality that we provide to incentivize this deployment is the developer incentives. As opposed to the EIP 1559 that is burned on Ethereum, we split it equally between the developers and the users and the miners, so that now every time that you interact with that transaction with an application on Evmos, you're directly creating funding to the project that you're interacting with. So for example, if you're using Diffusion or any other application on the Evmos ecosystem, you're directly paying 50% of those fees to the development team. This completely shifts the paradigm of how these applications get funding and bootstrap themselves from day one. You will also be able to expand your user base by having interoperable ERC20s. Now you can see, for example, how Diffusion just added Osmo and Atom, which are not ERC20 compatible, into their AMM on the EVM. The same way you can do this by adding all these tokens from the Cosmos ecosystem into your application on Evmos. And other application-specific chains will also be able to do this because we're also representing ERC20s as IBC-compatible formats. And then, and you can see here how we are merging the user experience between the Cosmos and IBC networks, and EVM networks in a way that you're able to manage all your ERC20s, IBC assets, etc., using a single interface. We're going to be providing seamless user experience so that all the applications can use the functionalities of IBC using the preferred mechanism. Right now, we support Kepler, MetaMask, and Ledger, and we're adding functionality for a Coinbase wallet and Wallet Connect so that you can connect all the wallets in the ecosystem and do IBC transfer, Cosmos transactions, and also EVM-compatible transactions. Evmos now has also less than 2-second block times so that you can have the best user experience when interacting with these applications. And as I mentioned before, you can also use Cosmos and Ethereum assets directly. Now in terms of traction, how do you get traction on Evmos once you get the deployment and you decided to finally go and deploy? Evmos is connected to the top chains in the Cosmos ecosystem and to more than 25 chains in the EVM-compatible ecosystem. So you can get liquidity from all these different sources. And we're also introducing the first ever dApp store, which is a decentralized marketplace for dApp developers and users, so that we can get additional visibility for all the applications, service providers, validators, infrastructure, and also applications in the interchain that will be able to be compatible directly with Evmos through interoperability or directly deploy on the EVM. This is a mechanism, in our view, to increase the adoption from users coming from Web 2, because our friends and family, usually the way they interact with these applications are through an app store. So by implementing directly this is a mechanism to increase the visibility, create creative content, for example, DeFi app of the day, validator of the day, etc. And then the other mechanism where you can get traction is the usage incentives. Now you have application in-protocol usage incentive for every time that you interact with a smart contract. So in the same way that you DeFi protocols and DeFi applications and AMMs provide incentives for providing liquidity, you can do the same right now with smart contracts. So now every time that you interact with a contract that is approved by governance, you get additional Evmos tokens every time that you send a transaction that are paid out at the end of 1 week. So our token model was built entirely to create incentive alignment for all the different users That means developers, validators, and users, so that we can have a shared and healthy ecosystem, so that we can create more alignment between like all the different users. And the third one, how, once you reach maturity, how are you able to scale in the same way that DYDX scale into their own application-specific blockchain? And this is our core value proposition that I'm trying to share with you now. So, as I mentioned, this model for applications to grow that DYDX pioneered is like, that is trying to pioneer now, deploying on Ethereum and then migrating to Cosmos. You can do the same right now, but with Evmos, because you have all the native interoperability from day one, and plus all the benefits that I outlined before. Once you reach maturity, you can additionally add additional flexibility with the Cosmos SDK functionality, baking the SDK modules into the EVM. So you can maintain the EVM equivalence while you're building your core functionality. And then you can also interoperable natively via the interchain through IBC and EVM bridges. This is all going to be possible through the shared security mechanism that I outlined before. But there's a huge limitation, and it's what we call the layer 1 business development program. That it's a hugely underestimated problem, because when you launch a new L1, most of the time that you will spend is not doing like the tech, but talking to every single integration and infrastructure provider, all the validators, all the relayer, RPC, wallets, multisigs, oracles, indexers, and all the list that you can see here. So how, if you deploy a new chain, how are you able to bootstrap yourself if you don't have this basic integration? This is where Evmos comes in play, where Evmos will serve as the main EVM infrastructure hub, not only for the entire EVM ecosystem on Cosmos, but for the entire interchain ecosystem. And it's going to be available through native interoperability and IVC. So once you reach a maturity, you create your own chain, and you can still benefit from all this infrastructure that is deployed on Evmos. And this is how it's going to look like. You create an IVC. Once you reach a maturity, you create an IVC, a proposal to create your new chain that is deriving security. Once that happens, you create half of an IVC connection and also export a Genesis state. Then once the new chain starts, you are able to create the remaining half of the IVC connection, and you can start using all the core infrastructure through native interoperability. The things that I mentioned before, IVC transfers, IVC queries, interchain accounts, but also native interoperability between smart contracts. And that smart contracts that is deployed on the new consumer chain is going to be able to talk to all the infrastructure and service providers that are going to be living on Evmos. So you don't have to worry about this business development program. You can deploy and kickstart your chain from day one using one single click, governance proposal gets approved, and you can start using all the core infrastructure on Evmos. That's our core value proposition. And to ease this model, we're going to create like an interchain package where we're going to be offering all these services to application and consumer chains directly talking to Evmos. They're still going to be using all the services, all the applications that are deploying there, and you're going to be able to export the state, all the smart contracts, the code, the storage, and also the balances. We're going to be also creating tools for user acquisition. In this case, we're also creating an airdrop UI so that you can, if you're creating your new chain, you can select in the same way that we design our token model and our airdrop mechanics. You can select the smart contracts, the gas-guzzling functionality. If you want to select also the stakers or the LPers on Evmos smart contracts or on Osmosis, and you'll be able to export a CSV file with all the addresses and with all the token criteria that you define on this on your airdrop model. And we believe that this is going to be hugely beneficial for Evmos and for the entire community because of all the commissions that are going to be directly streamlined to Evmos users' wallets. And of course, it's going to create value for the Evmos, not only in the Evmos chain, but in the entire interchain and EVM ecosystem. Thank you so much, and Happy to answer any questions that you might have now.
Is there some question?
Hello. How is it going to work, the native liquid stake?
So the liquid stake module is going to be implemented. We're still doing like the studies about which implementation is better, because we also want to support smart contracts to be able to stake on behalf of the users, but also as part of like the DeFi protocol. And this is not something that is supported on other liquid staking implementations that you see today in Cosmos. So we're doing our proper due diligence before we implement this. But yeah, so you will be able to use Evmos and stake them, and then use the staked Evmos as an ERC20 within the EVM.
Any other question? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.